Right now, somewhere in the walls around you, something might be eating your house alive. It has no mouth, no stomach, no muscles, no brain, and yet it can turn a solid wooden beam into crumbling dust in a matter of months. It can smell moisture through brick. It can grow its own plumbing system to carry water across a dry room just so it can keep eating. It can even dissolve stone. In extreme cases, it has brought down entire staircases, floors, and roofs, while the people living above it had no idea anything was wrong until the ceiling gave way beneath them. This is not a horror movie. This is a fungus, and it might already be inside your walls. So how does something with no mouth, no muscles, and no brain eat an entire house? Let's go back to the beginning, the Silent Kingdom. For most of human history, we grouped living things into two boxes, plants and animals, green things that grow and things that move and eat. But fungi never fit into either box. For a long time, we didn't even really know what to do with them, so they got lumped in with plants almost by default, simply because they don't run away. But fungi are not plants. They don't photosynthesize. They don't build their bodies out of sunlight and air the way a tree does. And they're not animals either. They don't hunt, they don't chew, they don't have a digestive tract at all. Instead, fungi do something stranger than either. They digest their food before they eat it. A fungus doesn't put food inside its body. It puts its body inside the food. Thread-like structures called hyphae, each one thinner than a human hair, push their way directly into whatever the fungus is feeding on. Once inside, the fungus releases a cocktail of enzymes that dissolve the material around it into simple sugars, fats, and amino acids. And then the hyphae simply absorb the resulting soup straight through their own cell walls. It is essentially an external stomach turned inside out and spread through its food like roots through soil. And it can be extended into almost anything solid enough to hold still. Fungi have been doing this for over 400 million years, since long before dinosaurs, long before trees as we know them existed. In fact, without fungi, we would be buried. Literally, every fallen tree, every dead leaf, every log on a forest floor would simply pile up forever because almost nothing else on Earth has ever evolved the enzymes required to dismantle wood's toughest ingredient, lignin, the rigid molecule that makes wood. Scientists think that for tens of millions of years, this was actually a real problem for the planet. Trees had evolved lignin, but nothing had yet evolved a way to break it back down. Dead trees simply piled up faster than they could decay, layer after layer, eventually crushed underground into the massive coal deposits we still burn today. It took millions of years of evolution before a group of fungi finally cracked the lignin code, closing the loop and turning decomposition into the fast, efficient process it is today. This is a gift to the entire planet. It is also, unfortunately, a gift your house did not ask for. The invasion your home is, structurally speaking, mostly dead wood. Framing timber, floor joists, roof trusses, all of it once part of a living tree, now just cellulose and lignin held together in a rigid lattice, sitting there, motionless, indefinitely. To a wood decay fungus, this isn't a house. It's an enormous, motionless meal that never runs away and never fights back. All it needs is moisture. A fungal spore, invisible and floating through the air, lands on a piece of damp timber, maybe near a leaking pipe, a poorly sealed window, or a patch of condensation in a crawl space. If conditions are right, it germinates, and a single hypha begins to grow. That one thread multiplies into thousands, then millions, weaving through the wood in a branching network called mycelium. The enzymes go to work, breaking down cellulose fibers into sugar the fungus can absorb, then slowly dismantling the lignin binding everything together. From the outside, the timber might look almost normal at first, but inside, its internal structure is quietly being converted into fungal food. The wood becomes lighter, drier, and starts to crack into small cube-shaped chunks. Press it, and it can crumble like burnt toast. This is dry rot. And it has one truly disturbing trick that separates it from almost anything else that eats wood. Most fungi need a constant damp environment to keep spreading. Dry rot does not. Dry rot builds its own water pipeline. Specialized hyphae called mycelial cords can grow thick, root-like strands that transport water for meters, right through brick, plaster, and masonry that aren't even food. This lets the fungus carry moisture from a single damp source deep into perfectly dry timber on the other side of a house, hydrating it just enough to start digesting it too. It can travel through a wall it cannot eat, just to reach a beam that it can. It is, in effect, plumbing itself into your walls to keep the buffet going. And it grows fast. Under good conditions, some wood decay fungi can spread several millimeters a day, silently expanding behind wallpaper, under floorboards, above ceilings, completely out of sight, for months or even years at a time. By the time most people notice anything, it's usually not the fungus itself they see. It's the damage. A floor that feels slightly spongy underfoot. A door that no longer sits right in its frame. A faint, musty, mushroom-like smell in a room with no visible mold anywhere. In severe, neglected cases, structural timber has been hollowed out so thoroughly that staircases and floor joists have collapsed under completely normal weight, sometimes after the damage had been silently spreading for years behind a single, unremarkable patch of wallpaper. The fungus, meanwhile, doesn't know or care that it's inside a house. It has no concept of a house at all. It is simply doing exactly what it has done for hundreds of millions of years, finding dead wood and turning it back into soil. Beyond wood, the thing that eats almost anything, wood is not even the limit of what fungi can dissolve. Some fungi have evolved the ability to break down and extract minerals directly from solid stone and concrete, a process called bioweathering. Their hyphae secrete acids that etch into rock at a microscopic scale, pulling out minerals the fungus needs to survive, and slowly, over years, weakening the material from the inside. This is part of how fungi help turn bare rock into soil in the first place, in ecosystems where nothing has grown before. In old buildings, this same acid-secreting strategy has been found quietly degrading mortar and stonework over decades, invisible until cracks and crumbling begin to show. Other fungi are even stranger. Around the ruins of the Chernobyl nuclear reactor, scientists discovered fungi thriving inside the wreckage, seemingly using radiation itself as a kind of energy source, a process nicknamed radiosynthesis. Nobody fully expected life to find a way to exploit that. The common thread running through all of this is the same one from your basement wall. Fungi are opportunists on a planetary scale. They do not care whether the meal in front of them is a fallen log, a slab of concrete, or the studs behind your drywall. If it can be broken down, sooner or later, something will evolve to break it down. Stopping the silent eater. The good news is that dry rot and other wood decay fungi have one major weakness. They need moisture to survive. Cut off the water, and the fungus starves, no matter how far its network has already spread. This is why the fix for an infestation almost always starts with finding and eliminating the source of damp, not just treating the wood itself. Leaks get repaired. Ventilation gets improved. Badly infected timber typically has to be cut out and replaced entirely because the mycelium can run deep, far beyond what's visible on the surface, sometimes traveling meters through masonry to timber that looks completely untouched. In stubborn cases, fungicidal treatments are applied directly to remaining surfaces to stop any leftover spores or hyphae from reestablishing themselves. It's slow, unglamorous, expensive work. But it works, because without water, even a fungus this relentless simply cannot function. Cut the pipeline, and the invasion collapses on its own. The bigger picture. Here's the strange twist in all of this. The exact same process that can quietly wreck a house is one of the reasons complex life on land exists at all. Without fungi capable of breaking down lignin, forests would never fully decompose. Nutrients locked inside dead wood would simply stay locked forever instead of being recycled back into soil for the next generation of plants, insects, and everything that depends on them. Fungi are, in a very real sense, the reason forests are able to keep being forests century after century instead of slowly burying themselves under their own dead. So the same organism that might be eating a beam in your basement right now is also one of the most important recyclers on the planet. It's not malicious. It's not even aware that you exist or that the thing it's slowly dismantling is something you call home. It's just doing its job. The same job it has done since long before humans or houses or wood frame walls ever existed. A little too well, a little too close to home. Next time you catch a faint, musty smell in an old room Or notice a floorboard that feels just slightly softer than it should. Remember, there might be a network of threads thinner than a human hair, quietly and patiently turning your house back into forest floor. If you liked looking at the hidden world behind ordinary things, there's a whole invisible war happening inside your body too, and we've covered that one as well.